Hello and welcome to yet another massive episode of NBL Overtime. Round 6, it's gone, and boy did it bring a couple of surprises, and maybe there might be a 13th player in Pete Hooley's MVP ranking. So a lot going on here. I welcome in the best crew in the business, Peter Hooley, Lanard, Copeland, Damon. I'm going to start off with you, Damon, because commiserations are in order.
Oh, why is that?
Because your Hawkies, they ain't the best anymore.
Oh.
The New Zealand Breakers are the new #1 seed in the NBL, and they did it in emphatic fashion. Damon, can you speak in the wake of the Hawks?
Hey, look, it's one of those days. They're still a top 3 team in this league. The Hawks are still minus Trey Kell. He will be back. But they just ran up on an unbelievable avalanche of buckets from Benny Hench and the Perth Wildcats. It happens sometimes. They're not going to go 25-3, but they're still going to be it's going to take a tough job to beat them still. Yeah.
They're certainly going to be up there, but Pete.
Are we friends again after that, off the top of the show?
We're always friends.
Good, because it was round 7 we just watched, so I'm looking forward to it.
It all moves too quickly for me. The New Zealand Breakers right now, dominant.
It's unbelievable. And again, look, we get a lot of things wrong when it comes to previews and all of this. I had some big concerns at the start of the year with the roster turnover, have a new coach coming in, all the travel they had to do. But the way they're playing right now, Coach Cop has this team humming. Last night against Melbourne United, they look like a European top-level team. That ball is zinging around. We'll talk about PJC. He's been unbelievable. But credit to the New Zealand Breakers. Right now, they are the best team in the league because every little piece is functioning the way it should. Mojave King, Mitch McCarron's still on there. Max Darling's been a starter. He's been missing games. What they did, I've never seen a team pick apart Melbourne United like they did last night.
I was going to say the same thing. Dean Bickerman's a very smart coach. He's been in the business a long time. I've never seen a team be able to do what they wanted to do the whole game, though. It wasn't just the first quarter. It was quarter 1 through 4. They picked them apart, scored the baskets. Dean called a late timeout, a stand-up timeout in the fourth quarter. When do you usually do that? He was upset with the whole crew.
And I was probably the only guy in the preseason that was big on the New Zealand Breakers. And in the preseason polls, and it was pointed out by the fans that I was probably the only one that had faith in the preseason. You guys had written them off. Damon, how did you fare in the preseason?
I had them down there. See, these way too early predictions, I tell you, I tell them all the time, it's too early for the too early predictions. But like I'm with you, Pete, they had an entirely different roster. Dane Pinot, Alex McNaught, and PJC. That's it. Am I missing somebody? That's the team. Yeah. New coach. So, look, full credit to them. But right now, they are the best team in the comp.
Well, I'll be totally transparent. Sometimes when it's New Zealand, and the same thing happens with Tasmania to an extent, sometimes guys get lost. And Parker Jackson-Cartwright, you can't help but think if he was playing for a Melbourne or Sydney team, he would be the front runner by a long stretch for the MVP right now.
Well, I mean, he is anyway. I think, Damon, you were talking about it as well. The way I see it right now, until somebody else takes it from him, it's his. Like, he has put a gap between it. When we talk about picking apart a Melbourne United team the way he did, Melbourne United defensively, their numbers, so the eye test tells us they've been the best defensive team all year, but the numbers up until before last night's game also back up historically it's one of the best defensive teams we've seen. He put them to the absolute sword time and time again, but he's done it all season long. He's the best player in the league.
Because he's so quick, usually Shea Ely or Delhi will get up and in on the defensive end and negate your speed. Last night, they stood off, and that's when I knew it was a problem because he was able to pick apart whatever he wanted, hand the ball off, take the shot. Those guys are afraid of his speed, and he did a fantastic job.
We take him, I think we do, you're spot on, Felix. We take him for granted.
Yeah,
because, again, New Zealand, they've been away for a while. They were in the States for a little bit. They're doing all this travel, but he's going about his business. The only guy who's actually really tried to slow him down a little bit was Ty Webster when Perth went down there. I think he finished with 13-9 and the win, though. So, he still made impactful plays, but Ty Webster's done the best job on him so far, but he's comfortably the best player in the league.
And this is why no other team can complain about traveling. New Zealand are in first place. They travel more than anybody this year, and they're rolling.
PJC is unguardable.
He is, though.
The PJC pick and roll cannot be guarded. Now, the way the Melbourne United have their 4 pit bull guards, and they maul you. Bull crawl style. They won't let you get a catch. The average team running all this other kind of spacing offense, and you got to catch the ball. It's hard. But PJC's already got the ball. And now you run a pick and ball screen for him. Rob Lowe sitting way back here. Marcus Lee sitting way back here. Sam Benick's like this. I'm just going to go over here and shoot the ball. I'm just going to go over here, and he could get whatever he wanted. And because of the way they play defense, it's unguardable. Some teams just match up horrifically with other teams. New Zealand's a horrific matchup for the United.
Well, again, you talk about being unguardable. So you have options, right? If you take the gap off him, if you're a bigger guard like Bull Cole, if you try and guard PJC, You give him a head of speed, he's gone. No one can stay in front of him. If you are like a Shaley or a Deli and you try and crawl up in him, he's gone.
Yep.
And if you're NBL is there's a lot of teams trying to get their drops defense right. You just can't play it against him because he'll live in the mid-range. But then if you try and blitz it, he'll split that and he'll hit open shooters. That's what Coach Cobb, everyone is just playing with confidence. And Tasevich is coming in, knocking the ball down. That ball is zinging around.
Meninga's the perfect fit for him too, though. Pick and roll, pop, can knock down the three. He's big enough inside where you can throw it inside for him as well. So he's rolling.
There's a whole lot of names getting mentioned. There's one that's getting left on the table. A guy that they told me was going to get cut 4 weeks ago. Matt Mooney. The guy reminds me of Rodney Clark, and I'll tell you what, he's starting to live up to. I said that in the preseason, and every one of my preseason predictions was dead wrong, but this one might have been on.
No, he's been terrific. And again, it'd be lovely to be a guy who has the resume of him, the understanding of the credentials of I'm a knockdown shooter. I'm playing alongside the best point guard in the league. Yeah. Where if you're going to try and take a couple of steps to slow down PJC, he's going to find me, and I just got to step up and knock it down. We might have to go back and have a look at the stats. He seems to always hit buzzer beaters at the end of quarters. He just puts the ball in his hand, rises up, but he has been outstanding. And again, he's a major reason why they're on top of the ladder right now.
But you remember the first game in the season, they had trouble holding on their leads. The first 2 games, the first rounds, they found a way to fix that now, and this is why they look so good against Melbourne United.
Matt Mooney is also a bully guard, too. He's bigger than what you think he is. So, yes, he can knock the 3-ball down, but I saw him get to the basket. He had Shayili on his hip. He just kiss it off the glass. He's strong. He was a little sloppy with the ball yesterday. Had like 6 turnovers. But they also run good offensive structure.
Yeah, they do.
Coach Kopp, it's a lot of a copycat league. A lot of teams do the same stuff. New Zealand do some different stuff. And I saw some flex action. I saw some easy baskets being had by Sean Bairstow as well as Matt Mooney.
Coach Cobb, I mean, he's a player's coach. We're seeing this now. But again, what he did in his career, he only finished playing a couple of years ago. The spots you see PJC and Matt Mooney playing in, that's what he used to do. Right. And he used to excel at it on the international level.
If we're going to talk about preseason predictions, we've got to give you credit because a lot of people were hating on Freddie Gillespie. There was some people in the preseason saying he's not offensively talented enough, but that ain't where he gets his pay.
That's right.
He gets it on the defensive end.
Yeah, again, every time you get a new player in the league, you want to see what they do. I was looking at old highlights, I was looking at old scouting reports, all of that, but a lot of the reputation talking to people overseas were saying that he is a defensive beast. And I spoke to his current teammates in New Zealand Breakers during the preseason, and Mitch McCann told me he'd never seen a guy get up for multiple efforts so quickly to block shots. And he was like, dude, this guy's outstanding. I went out on a limb and said that he could win a Defensive Player of the Year, but we're starting to see that. And again, they've got all the puzzle pieces right. Right, he comes off the bench now, and he seems more than happy to do that because Sam Menenga's firing in his role. And then the last one we'll talk about is a teenager who's playing way above his age.
We're going to touch on him, but it's the scariest thing about this team, and we agree on this, Lanard. The Taco Fall could come into this lineup. Is that the scariest thing? Are coaches sitting back scared, sweating, thinking the great Taco Fall could enter this lineup at some point?
Well, listen, it's not Taco's fault. It's not his fault. He's sitting there waiting on a job, all right? So, but at the end of the day, why would you bring a Taco Fall in here now, the way they're playing, the way they're rolling, the way they look as a team? They look like friends. And I think Joe mentioned when they went to the United States, they were hanging out. They're cool off the floor. So that's why they're playing so well on the floor.
It seems to me that the whole Taco situation is that if he's healthy, he's still rehabbing, that it'll be an injury replacement thing. I don't think they're going to really... You can't do anything now when you're the best team in the competition.
I'll tell you what, it is a blessing for the Overtime crew, though, because we will continue harping on Taco Fall. Man, I love him. I just want to see him get out there and hoop, man. I love it.
Does he not follow you back?
No, he doesn't follow me back. I don't think he'd like me at all, Taco Fall. But Karim Lopez, now the scary thing for Karim Lopez is he's playing so well right now. He's got 2 years to get to the NBA. Are we going to be able to keep him next year?
Thank God he got 1 more year to go before he goes over there. Man, this dude is so impressive. 17 years. I got T-shirts older than this dude. And he's out here manhandling grown men.
I think you're wearing one.
It ain't just like... That's funny. Nice. Coach, he ain't just playing passively or just playing just decent. He's manhandling him like he's the veteran.
Yeah.
I saw him take Chris Golding baseline, gave Chris Golding a little shoulder, palm the ball like it was a grapefruit, kissed it off the glass, and looked at Chris like, man, I ain't won. Like, you can't deal with me.
He had 2 4-point plays last night, and he does play like a veteran.
The next stars that have come to this league and dominated have done it on terrible teams, bottom-of-the-table teams. Josh Giddey, LaMelo, these teams weren't contenders.
Right.
He is doing this for the top team in the NBL right now, so that goes into the equation of this whole thing a lot. But if Karim Lopez and the New Zealand Breakers are the top, then the Jack Jumpers, well, they're right down here because those offensive struggles are just continuing and continuing. And we try to find nice things to say right now, but the worst offensive rating for a team since 2013, Peter.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since we've seen an offensive rating this low. And I mean, you have to go back to have a look at that. So this is the worst we've seen. This is currently this year below 100. Below 100. And you look at the Illawarra Hawks on the other end. And again, for people who don't quite understand the offensive rating, you probably don't need to until you look at history.
Right.
When I say the last time we've had a team under 100, you go way back. Look at that. Adelaide 36ers and Townsville in the same year with the last time we've had teams under 100 from offensive rated. They had 60 against the Sydney Kings, their lowest they've ever had in their history. They've only been in the league 3.5 years. But the signs we all envisioned to come and the problems on the offensive end have come, and I think they've come a lot bigger and more magnified than we could ever expect.
Do they need to make a trade? I mean, do they need to make a move right now?
Yes.
So Sword's the only guy that can move, right?
Look,
they got to bring in a forward that can score the rock because the two guards right now, we know they can score. They've done a good job over the years, but they're not doing it this year, and that's the problem. You cannot score 60 points in this league and expect to win any game at all.
Doyle and Crawford are they're the elephants in the room right now because they're the ones that you rely on. When Jack McVeigh was there, their inconsistency was forgiven somewhat. Right now, no Jack McVeigh, too inconsistent, too low field goal percentage. It is not winning basketball. And this is two great players, so it's unfortunate to see.
and it's unfortunate because we already know how great they are. We watched what they did last year in the championship series. But guess what? Like my ex-girlfriend Janet Jackson once said,
This guy didn't.
like what'd she
say?
What have you done for me lately? Now,
No way she said that.
Yeah. She said, how'd you get my number?
Get out of my DMs.
no, you got to back it up. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was in the past. So now, okay, Jack McVeigh's no longer here. That's all right. Now, what are you guys gonna do? You can't just use that as an excuse. Now, Craig Sawyer comes in and goes, "You guys know what you got when you brought me in.
Right.
I'm doing what you guys expected me to do.
Yeah.
But what are you two doing?
Right.
And Majuk Ding and Anthony Drimmick and Will Magnay, what are all you guys doing? So I don't want all the blame to be put on Craig Sawyer.
I got a question for you, Pete. Is it the system? You think it's because it looked like on Sunday when I called the game, they're just running a system, moving the ball around, and then trying to get the best available shot. And when you're losing like that and you're down, as an import, you got to take control. You got to put that ball in your hand and say, "Get on my back. I'm going to work."
I'm not going to say so much the system, but back on the Craig Sawyer thing first, I think he's been playing professional since 2016. He's had 1 year he averaged over 10 points. That's not his game.
Right.
So it's unfair for everyone to put the highlight on him, but we do that because Milton Doyle, and I think Ruck said it best, Milton Doyle and Jordan Crawford, they get a grace period in terms of if you're trying to think about sending them home. They just made history with Tasmania, right? What I also am starting to see is a little bit of, they won a championship last year. They're the oldest team in the comp, which people are also looking over too. I think the average age is like 33. So the oldest team in the league. When they first started, back 3.5 years ago, everybody saw the roster and said, this team is just a bunch of guys who are trying to get a second chance. There's no chance they can do anything special.
Yeah.
But they were hungry. Yeah. They were unbelievably hungry to try and prove everybody wrong. They did it for 3 years in a row. And the human nature side of it is when you go and make the fairy tale, you've just won a championship, it'll go down as one of the best stories in sporting history. There's a little bit of the complacency that then pops in your mind of, I've won a championship. If I'm going to retire in 3 years, I've already won one.
Yeah.
I've already proven that now I belong here. So you kind of have to try and get out of that and be hungry once again. Maybe being towards the bottom of the ladder is the hunger they need to turn things around.
But would I challenge you on that point in saying the hunger should be represented on the defensive end? A lack of hunger should be represented on the defensive end. When I'm hungry, you could still, well, it's probably bad for me because I couldn't make a shot when I was hungry or full. But if you're hungry, it's not going to come up on the offensive end. Well, that hunger is going to be represented on the defensive end.
And again, go back and looking at those 2 years when they managed to just rely on defense to get to the top four. It was Sam McDaniel and it was Matt Kenyon, like the point of the attack defenders who could kind of set a tone. Now, it is different. Craig Sawyer's coming off the bench, but you also talked about what they're missing. With no Jack McVeigh is one thing, but every other great team so far in the league, New Zealand's very unique, but have an elite power forward.
Speaking as an import, ex-import, you go home, man, 2 for 15, 2 for 16, you're worried. I don't care what you say. I don't care how many years you've been here, what you've done. You have to perform. Because if you get cut, What other team in the world is going to pick you up if you're playing this bad? You still have to feed your family. You still have that pressure on you. There's no way you can accept playing like that. If you're going to cut me, I'm going to take 25 shots rather than take 6 shots.
You're going to die.
You understand? I'm going to die on the of course.
You've made the comment before that Scott Roth is such a good coach that it's very hard to write off the Jack Jumpers with a coach of that calibre. And he spoke in his presser that he's not interested in making any changes.
I plan on keeping this group in front of me until something would happen. So I would never, ever discuss that in public. And anyways, if you wanted to find out, that guy right there would probably leak it to you before we get it.
Guy.
Who was he talking about?
That man, I believe, I have on good authority, is friend of the show, friend of the network, Olgun Orlik.
Whoa, that wasn't nice.
But what I love about him saying that, but that's the other side of it. Like, if you're Milton Dorr, you're Jordan Crawford, Craig Sword, if you're anyone, like, he's going to back for you right now. He could have made a move at any point, the whole club, but they're sticking through it. So you've got to repay the faith. Go out there, be more aggressive, set the tone defensively. And you're right, though. If anyone could turn this around, we fast forwarded to February and we're like, Tassie finishing the play-in. Would any of us be shocked?
Nope.
They've done it every year.
I also love the comment from Scott Roth. I'm not going to make any changes until something happens, like making a change. So we're a little double entendre there, but it's time to get into our favourite segment. We've been too serious right now. It's time to open up the shoulders. This ain't no cupcake league, and I'm going to kick us off right now. What just pricked my ears? Now, we're a pretty professional production crew on Sundays. It's the big game. When we threw over to Steph, I think, unfortunately, Gazy might have not realised that we were still on air. And he's just said, no,
Come on, bro.
I'm out.
Where you
out.
going?
There he goes.
He's still going. Where you
He's still going. Gazy's just rolling away.
Oh, wow.
He just kept going. I saw him next to me and I tried to remain professional. Now,
That's the biggest I've seen him move, by the way.
He was gone. But also,
I also get so nervous in this segment now.
well, we all have a Zoom meeting that we discuss different things, and some people have, I believe it works through a Microsoft account or something like that, but you have a profile picture. Yep. And I just thought yours was a little interesting, Lanard, because, you know, it has a lot of keys in the bowl about it.
It was a Christmas party.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, man, I can hear the keys rattling from here. A little masquerade action.
Not bad.
I've been to a couple of those. You know,
not bad. You've been there a couple of
Oh, yeah, I was there with you.
Okay.
That was last week.
That was great. Speaking of great outfits now, we all dressed exceptionally well. At least we all like to rotate our clothes. And we've already highlighted that our wonderful host, he doesn't like to do that. But the problem is when you wear it too much, you do this and you end up ripping your pants. He's stood up for a long time. We know he works hard. Have a look at this. He's got a...
What are you doing, bro? Come on, man.
I'm looking for lunch. I did clean rip my hands down the back.
You get your hand out of there? What you looking for?
And look, he's showing everybody. Drew's just no good, mate.
I'll tell you the worst part about that. We were on a raised podium. So no one from the front could see my ripped pants, but all the poor fans with the front row seats there would look right up in.
Wow. Now, again, we love outfits, and again, we put in the hard yards here, right? It's prep, so we've been prepping 4 hours for the games, especially if it's a late game in Perth. I understand we all wear nice things, but sometimes when it's 11:45 at night, there's certain outfits that might not need to be seen now. And what's going on here? Now, I know he went to the Olympics, but the visor at 11:45 at night.
Walk around with that stuff on Chapel Street.
Look. First of all, where's the parking for the Olympians around the studio?
Looking like Ray Gun.
Oh, that's great.
A little visor on his side. Well done.
Why was the visor on, though?
Just because it matched.
Oh, I thought your line in the video was better.
All right, fellas, I'm up. Now, we're all friends here.
Are we?
Generally, yes, we are. And then when a friend's in trouble, you try to help them out, right? Guys are desperate. You try to help them out. Well, this guy right here is a little bit desperate because he's gone and hired a matchmaker. Felix has hired a matchmaker. He's been on all the different shows, The Bachelor. He's been in the nightclubs, can't get love. We got to find this guy some love. Hired a matchmaker.
I ain't gonna can't find love from you, Lanard. How many marriages you been through?
Have some pride.
The cameraman's quiet back there, quiet. Hey, she was a beautiful lady, very nice lady that came up and said hello at the game. Thank you very much.
I did, because I saw you reposted that, and I checked the time. It was within 30 seconds he reposted that.
Oh, yeah.
There was no hour delay.
I'm quick.
Quick. All right, look, I'm sitting at home minding my own business, just watching the game. And the Tasmania Jack Jumpers, they are playing some basketball that's so boring right now. Our good mate, not Josh King.
always goes for a young bull.
Oh, Kelsey. Look at Kelsey. He's like,
Put your hand over your mouth, too. Kelsey, put your hand over your mouth.
I'm ready for bed. If you guys don't get buckets, I'm going to bed.
Can you blame it right now?
It is that sort of basketball at the moment. That's nice. Way to open up. It's time to cut to a break. Plenty more coming up next.
At the horn, one go, and Southeast Melbourne come from behind to escape. And you can see the relief on the faces.
And what started off as a nightmare for Southeast Melbourne is very quickly becoming a movie worth watching. 100-76, the final score at John Cain Arena. Josh King goes 2-0.
Oh, the South East Melbourne Phoenix. We sung their praises at the start of the season. Not once did we lose faith. We knew it was going to be turned around. We kept a positive outlook the entire time, and Josh King has come in and he is reinvigorated. And Sammy McKinnon, we've got to give him credit as well, has reinvigorated this group, Pete. They are rolling. Josh King, you could not have got a better start. He gets an appearance on overtime and then he gets 2 wins. What a week.
Overtime zone. Josh King, it was great. And again, we saw the glimpses of it under Sam McKinnon, so I'm glad you mentioned that. We saw what he's good, but this is the stuff on the sideline that we also highlighted throughout his career that we've seen. He is very energetic, and everyone's starting to feed off this. Nathan Sobey said it in the press conference as well, that when there's lulls in games or whether it's a practice, his energy becomes infectious, and everybody else has to rise to the challenge. So I'm more impressed with the fact that they're scoring. Their offense is flowing a little bit. They're scoring at ease, especially in this Perth game. But all he wants to do is focus about getting up full court, setting a tone full court. They've got some personnel changes they've made that are working. But right now, you talked about them being the Illawarra Hawks of last year. Absolutely, they are. And because of some other struggles of teams around them, they're going to make the play-in tournament.
He's a player's coach, you know, and the fact that he is up and about, you can't get mad at him when he yells at you. As a player, when he curses you out and says you're not playing good defense, you have to take that because he's with you and he's a part of winning success.
He sat right here and we felt the vibe.
Yeah.
We could tell in like 2 minutes of meeting the guy that that's what he was about. And I'm not surprised to see him performing this way and having his team playing like this. Now, I got to give credit to the playing group because sometimes we've seen playing group just lay down for different coaches. Well, they up and about with this guy. Sam, like you said, Sam McKinnon got the ball rolling. Josh has picked up the torch. He's running with it. But to his credit, he is, like you say, his infectious energy. I seen him go at Foxwell. But he goes to every single player. It's like an individual thing. Some players that come out of the game, they just walk right past the coach and sit down. He's got something for everybody. He's engaged.
Some people also, as coaches, will come on here and preach, like, I want to set a tone defensively. And you'll see it for little glimpses in a game. Oh, yeah, he's yelling about it. But watch some clips here from the games on the weekend. When you talk about, it's innate, right? Okay, so Nathan Sobey hits. Watch Josh King. Where are we? I want full court press straight away. It's just an innate. It's almost like a tick. Does not care about it.
Sobey didn't react.
Okay, Matt Hurt. Look, he just wants everybody up. Everybody up. You can just see him in the top of the frame every single time. Nobody's going to pick up the ball. He starts getting upset on the sideline, figuring out what's going on. Every single time there's a score, look, he's already saying, let's get up there full court. Let's kind of pressure it up full court. Look, I don't care. You got to score. Where is everybody? Why do they let him inbound it so quickly? It is literally just part of his DNA to understand that when the ball goes in, I don't care about it. Let's go up in full court press.
As a point guard, I got a question for you. When Derek Walton Jr. comes back, do you start him? How many minutes does he play? How does he fit in with this group?
I don't start him because I'm 2-0. I'm not going to mess up the winning formula. But he's going to be my first guardian off the bench. And Derek Walton is another ball screen wizard. Now, sometimes it can get a little bit sticky, but he's going to come back in because they're not going to go to that, not as far as they could without him. But I'm going to ease him back into it, though.
Are you still playing? That was a present tense point guard.
No.
Yeah, that was this.
Yeah.
Once a point guard,
Once a
always
point guard. There you go.
There's some juice left in the old man.
He wouldn't know.
He wouldn't know. Oh, he definitely wouldn't know, would he?
Nathan Sobey, right now, this was the weekend that he needed. We've been seeing glimpses, a bit of inconsistency, but he finally broke out. Now, it's still not at his best, but it's far better than what we've seen over the start of the year.
I'm happy to see Nathan play well, man, because Nathan is a superstar. He's played well in Brisbane, very well. He had a couple of down games. In that first game, he didn't play well, but he was injured, and we didn't know that, and we called him out. But he hadn't come back to the press. He hadn't said anything wrong. He's just out there trying to play as hard as he can, and he can carry this team because he's carried the team before.
That game-winning attempt, again, down in Tassie was so impressive for mine. And again, it's part of our jobs as well. When superstars aren't playing to the level of their expectation, we have to talk about that because that becomes a big story, especially if your team is losing. How many other players around the league, if they're under that much scrutiny early in the season, when the team was 0-5, you're still trying to figure it out, your new coach is there for the first game, and you haven't been playing your best basketball, would shy away from the moment of taking a game-winning attempt? Yeah. He said, you know what, I'm in a position now to put this ball on the hoop, and he went in there and made the game winner against
After Matt Hurd had just knocked down a three and was open in the corner.
It's a massive thing. And then a big credit for him to take that on and say, you know what, this is what I do. I'm going to keep doing it because I know I'll break out of it.
One thing about Nathan Sobey is as we look at the games here, like from 1 to 5, averaging 12 games and those 5 losses, bumps his numbers up in games 6 to 10, 15, shooting a better field goal percentage. Look, every number is across the board better. But the thing with Nathan Sobey, I feel like he is not, there's the pressure of the world isn't on him. He doesn't have to be a superstar for this team to win. So now he's finding out like, oh, so I can just be a good player. Yeah, okay, fine, because I got other good players around me. When he was in Brisbane, he did all the heavy lifting. He get a couple cameo appearances from time to time from teammates. On this particular team, he can just be a rock-solid player. But in the crunch time, in the clutch time, his inner superstar comes out, and he can never switch that off.
The thing with Nathan Sobey as well, and this is, you know, we were quite harsh on Nathan Sobey to begin the season, and it may come a time where we're harsh again. But the thing you've got to have a lot of respect for, and guys, and they're the guys that I respect the most in the league, and it's why I'm happy to see him finally getting back to his best, is guys that have spent their entire careers in the NBL. You could have gone over and chased money in Europe. You know, Chris Goldie went over there for 6 months over to Europe. Guys that we've seen the best of them here. So we want to see these guys succeed. We want to see them have these massive careers. So Nathan Sobey, I hope that he continues this role and continues to keep going and gets back to his best, and I'm damn sure that he will. Current star, next star, Malik Lewis, somehow worked out over the past couple of weeks that he can jump. And he's begin to attempt to baptize everyone that comes in contact with him.
He is a machine. Did you see the last dunk? He went up, man, in your face and threw it down. But the thing about him is he does all the little things. Blocking shots, rebounding the ball. Oh, that's a grown man dunk right there.
That's confidence.
Some of us at this table know about that. Some of us don't.
Yeah,
right. But the thing is, he's quiet. He's a good kid, but he does all the little things off the floor, rebounding.
He's got the same level of poise we've seen from Kareem Lopez. Like these dudes are playing with the maturity that obviously your younger guys don't normally play with. And the good job that Mike Kelly did before Mike left us is Mike started this kid. He started him. He's a long defender. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the next star that New Zealand had a couple years ago, Rayan Rupert. How he can guard point guards. He can guard 2 guards. He can guard small forwards. He's very versatile defensively, and now his offensive game is starting to get more well-rounded.
Yeah, he's starting to add some more things, right? He's a 3-and-D type prospect. That's what the NBA teams are looking at. We talk about the Next Stars program. The draft overall is, besides the overall number 1 picks, the Cooper Flags, all of that, the rest of these from 10 onwards, you're drafting on potential. What can they be? Are they going to be impactful in the next 2 years in the NBA for anyone in those draft stocks? Usually not, but what can they be in 3 years' time? He was a 3-and-D prospect. Space the floor, knock down the 3, lock up defensively. But he's adding so much more to his game over the last few. And I think he's going to continue to rise up the boards. And NBA scouts are going to be sitting there being like, I love, in the short amount of time, if you can already improve that much, because that's what they want to see about the whole Next Stars program. By the time you enter this team, this professional league as a kid, by the time you leave it, what has changed for the better? It's not about numbers. How much have you grown up as a player, as a person, all of that? If you've done that, you'll get drafted at a very high rate.
Viewership for Overtime this year has been through the roof. Unquantifiable numbers across YouTube, ESPN, everywhere. Unquantifiable. But I think we've been able to work out at least one viewer, and we may know them very well, and that is Brian Gorget. Because he has taken the advice on board. He may be the greatest coach of all time, but Lanard, he appears to be listening to you as a consult.
Well, that's just common sense. It's hard to play 12.
to listen to you? Rotation.
Wait, both. Look,
you give me some bad advice.
All I'm saying is you cannot play 12 guys in 40 minutes and think they're going to be happy. It's just not going to happen.
You look at these rotations right here. 9 guys playing double-figure minutes. That is even unheard of back in the day. So now to have 11 guys get double-figure minutes, I say absolutely not.
And we played 48 minutes back in the day.
Yeah, now everybody's talking about Sean Bruce getting a DNP, Kelly LePepe getting a DNP. Here's my thing right now. The talent is so deep on every roster. In a 40-minute game, it is unrealistic. Like in the NBA, you might not play 3 or 4 games. And then game 5, the coach goes, get out there.
Yep.
You have to just be ready to play.
Or someone gets hurt.
Or somebody gets hurt.
Right.
But I don't want players to have this expectation. How come I didn't get to play today? Because I got 10 other dudes that can ball. I can't play everybody. Just be ready when your name is called.
That's right.
To me, it's no surprise that you look at the top 2 teams on the ladder right now, New Zealand and Illawarra, and they have their 8-man rotation set.
Yep.
They might sprinkle in a 9th for foul trouble or whatever it is, but they've got their core 8 that they're going to play big minutes in. Coach Kopp's doing it, Justin Tatum is doing it, and they're the 2 top teams on the ladder. That's what you need to do, and you sprinkle it out. You can try and tinker with things as it goes, but to try and make it all work with 11, 12 guys, it is impossible. It doesn't matter how good you are. It is just very hard to get that continuity from game to game because we're all human too. They're athletes, but they're humans as well. It's hard to figure out.
And the one thing Sydney did wrong, I think, was try to sign 10, 11, 12 superstars because they expect to play. You understand? It's hard to sit on that bench. Galloway coming back from an NBA, and he's playing 4 or 5 minutes. Everyone goes, why isn't he playing? Well, I've signed 9 guys that I expect to play. I'll get you in there when I can, and that's why it's working for him.
Too many chefs in the kitchen. Jalen Adams, is there any concern right now? Because, of course, he's back playing, but looking towards his back now. Is it when you miss a shot, you go back towards the injury, or what is it? Because I know that sometimes if you airball a 3, you check the wrist, you check the shoulder, you make sure it's all right. Is it a bit of that, or do we have to be concerned?
You're an expert at airballing, so we'll listen to you. But listen to this.
The cameraman's laughing a little too hard at the jokes about me. I will have that noted.
That's right. But I call that game, and you're right. It's almost every play he grabbed his back, so I don't think he's 100%.
No, he's
but
not.
when he's in the game, though, he helps him. I mean, he's a player. We know that.
Well, again, against Melbourne, I know they lost, but because of the back injury, it slowed him down so much, but it allowed him to really pick apart the defense. He was just dropping off dimes. He got to his mid-range floater. The Sydney Kings living in the mid-range in terms of floaters and fadeaways all season long. I do have concerns if it goes on for too long, right? Because when the battle test and when you get towards the end of the season, if this is lingering in a 3 or 5 game series and you want Jalen Adams to play 35 minutes, if it's still there, that's going to be an issue. So I don't know exactly what's going on with it, but you can clearly see he's not 100%.
I would take those 23 minutes, 13.7 assists any day with the injured back. Jalen Adams at 50% is like everybody else's 90%. I'll take it. How many guys do we see get hurt and then sit out? Like, can you play? Man, I'm not 100% yet. I don't need you to be 100%. Can you give me 50? Give me something. So Jalen Adams, if that's all you're going to get from him, that's still a hell of a player to have on the team.
Are you looking at the upcoming schedule thinking if we can get him a full weeks of rest and maybe miss this game here to try and get him back to 100%? Or are you saying, you know what, just fight through it. If it stays all season, then it stays all season?
Missing games ain't an option. If you got any kind of heart, you play. Even if Pat Riley had a great quote. I'm not late, he's still alive. The great Pat Riley, he looked at a guy on the bench who was in a suit. It says, because he was injured, he says, if you could win a championship today, and you only could play 1 minute, would you suit up? The guy said, yeah, if it was for a championship. He goes, well, how come you're not playing? Players you don't sit out and wait for the perfect moments. Jalen is going to come out there and give you what he's got. Everybody got to respect that.
I instantly regretted asking you that question.
Damon, I think you missed your calling as a medic in World War I. You would have just sent those boys back over the trenches.
Get out there, soldier.
World War I.
Oh, he's good. He's around that age. Anyway, time to cut to a break. Plenty more coming up on NBL Overtime.
You're a funny man.
For 3. Down! And some Sunday afternoon banking. Edwards pulls up on Prather. Bottom of the net. The Taipans make a big move to start the third quarter.
75-74, under a minute remaining. Here we go. And Perth steps back and connects.
Give him the ball.
Oh, the Mitsubishi Motors 3's leaderboard. Rob Edwards, he sits atop. Chris Golding, fast approaching on 30. Tyler Harvey, I'll tell you what, I reckon Matt Mooney, and I'm going to go out with a bold prediction here. I know, Lanard, you love the bold predictions. You have been on fire with them in the pre-game shows, but I'm going to get my own here. Matt Mooney is going to have a 7 to 10 three-point game. which is going to propel him to the top of the leaderboard within the next few weeks. Are we buying that? Are we selling it? Are we telling me to shut up?
Telling you to shut up.
That's beside the point.
Well, I mean, if he hits 7, it wouldn't take him to above 33, so I'm just trying to do the math.
There we go. Well, I'm not a fan of mathematics. We're going to head over to Can't Cope.
All right, fellas. Can't cope. Now,
The greatest thing
I'm
ever.
going to need you guys. I'm going to need your help with this one, all right?
Got you, bro.
All right.
Always.
Now, the appearance of the coaches on the sideline doesn't look good. Last couple of weeks, coaches have been going off on the referees or whatever. And you watch the NBA, some of these big-time coaches are getting kicked out of the game. Pop, Spoelstra, Doc Rivers, you're a big-time coach and you say the wrong thing, you're out of here. Are our referees hard enough on the coaches?
No.
No.
No, they're not. Now, I get referees try to diffuse and they try to have conversations, but that's going too far because they're doing that, but the coaches are not doing the same. So it's like this, okay, I tried to be nice. Now you're yelling at me. Now you're accusing me of all kind of stuff. You know what? There's your warning. Now, if you go over that line, I'm not warning you 2 times. The next one is a tech. And that'll stop all of this kind of stuff, I think.
It's been pretty disappointing to watch on the sideline. And to be honest, you can understand the frustration from a few and when others getting away with a whole lot more.
Right.
So whatever that line is needs to be clear and defined. And then I don't care if it's 45 seconds into the game. If that line is then breached from yelling in your ear or whatever it is, then it's a warning and then it's a tech. If the tech comes 3 seconds after that in the first, but it happens to everybody. If we can just set a tone as a whole, because you also want to understand the situation, the frustration, right? So if that's just happening all game, then we need to stamp that out. If it's happening on a call that has a big emphasis on the weight of the game, maybe you let a little more go because you can understand the emotion. Again, I don't envy the referees trying to figure out where all this is at. But when you're sitting there watching a game, you're sitting there calling a game, and you're seeing it non-stop, the referees are trying to do their best. It'd be a bloody hard job to do. But can we just set that line of, okay, this is it for all 10 coaches.
Yep.
You cross that line, I don't care when it is, I'm going a warning, and then I'm going straight tech. And if you do it again, then you're going to have an early shower.
You know, in 3x3, which got something to do with it. In 3x3, the referees give you a warning as soon as you talk back. And the warning signal is this. I love that. Too much yapping. Shut your mouth. You still banging on? That's what they do. And then the second time, it's a straightaway tech. And techs are so valuable. They cost so much. Yeah, I like that.
Apparently it doesn't work.
But in 3x3, they shut it down real quick. And now every referee in the NBL, they all got different personalities. We don't want tech-happy refs neither. We don't want that. And some refs got thicker skin than other refs. I don't want to see young refs being intimidated and trying to go, oh, I better tech this guy. Whereas you got some veteran referees that know how to go, hey, that's a little bit too much. So the referees got to get together amongst themselves and talk about how they're going to handle this.
It's a hard job, but it just looks bad when you're sitting at home watching coaches yelling on the sideline. It doesn't sound good.
We're talking about the refs too, but it also is a bit on the coaches.
Of course.
Is to understand what's going on here, the image that's being portrayed. We don't want to see that.
Yeah, but I'll put this to you on that point, because when we start talking image, the last thing a coach needs to worry about during the game is the image of what they're putting forward and that sort of stuff, which it's a very valid point. But what do we gain from having the coaches mic'd up outside of timeouts? Do we really gain that much as a viewer, that much as a commentator by having them mic'd up during the game? The timeout's fantastic. I enjoy that. I think it really gives us an insight. But most of the time, coaches are yelling, get up, get back, rebound, or yelling something inappropriate at the ref. Do we gain enough from just having those mics down while they're playing and just keeping it in the timeout? What
I actually like, Josh King did it really well on the weekend, and then I think the other one, Coach Kopp at one point, there's a conversation in a free throw where he's talking to a ref asking for an explanation. And that's what I love.
Yeah, you want to hear that.
You're doing it the right way. You're going about it. I think Josh King, Tom Bogdanovic had his 700th warning that game from the bench. and then they were talking about it, and then Josh King walked over and said, can you please tell that to me and I'll go and tell him to shut up. And it was a great back and forth. That's where I think it can be very useful to going forward, is having those conversations where, let's be clear, both coaches, both refs, us, everyone gets things wrong all the time. Of
course.
But to just explain that and have that the right way, I think is the best way going forward, because it's unique. I think it's very unique. I enjoy it when it happens in other sports, when you can see that back and forth properly. I think there's also a humour side of it that can come eventually if the relationship continues to build.
Some guys are very good with the back and forth. Like I know that Michael Aylen sometimes gives a bit of back and forth and it's quite good. So there is that enjoyable factor. But on the topic of referees, there was an unfortunate incident after the Cairns Melbourne game with Rob Edwards apparently, of course, everything's speculation, entering the referee's area, causing a ruckus or doing something. Details are hard to find, but Basketball Australia once again has their neck in the investigation.
Yeah, and what disappoints me, we've had 2 Basketball Australia integrity issues now, and obviously the Justin Tatum one, is just the length before results come. If you can go and travel and play another game before all of that is even figured out, I just don't think we can have that going forward. Because again, it goes for, if that guy goes and hits a game-winning shot and he was supposed to miss, or a coach draws up an unbelievable play and they go and win the next game, it's going to look even worse. And I don't want us to get to that situation. The length of it has to dramatically shorten.
You know how, like, on your voicemail, if you call me and I don't answer the phone, I'll leave you a voicemail message. I'll say, hey, you couldn't reach Damon right now. I'm a little bit busy, but I will get back to you. I want the integrity unit of BA. I want the message. When they finally deliver the verdict, I want them to say, sorry this took so long. I was golfing or I was out fishing. I got back to it when I could. Why? We just want to know why.
What's taking so long?
Who is involved and why does it take so long? Just give me an answer.
Bureaucracy. We'll never find that out, and that's how it will always be. But BA does do a fantastic job of everything, and so does Pete, Hooley, Lanard and Damon. They'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Overtime. Last season, the Perth Wildcats fans were near riot for multiple reasons. They came for John Rillie and then he turned it around. They appear to be almost coming again. But they were also up in arms that Ben Hench was not getting enough court time that they thought the young superstar deserved. Well, now that Bryce Cotton has gone down with a rib injury for a while, we are starting to see a little bit of the Ben Hench show, and we can understand, Pete, why the locals were furious.
He's awesome. Again, not many guys are born with like that attitude of just being like, no, I don't care what team I'm on. I could be a rookie. I could be in under 17s, 19s. It doesn't matter. My job is to score the ball because I've been born to score the ball.
And that is far between.
He's exactly what he is, though. He is just unbelievable to watch. And the performance he put on in the first half especially, just put the team on his back. And this is the silver lining of not having Bryce there, right? Everyone else's opportunity gets a little bigger. Their leash gets a little longer to play through mistakes. Whereas last year he had his career high against the Phoenix. But then all the question marks were, can he defend enough to stay in the rotation? John really said no. We didn't see him a whole lot. Now we'd have no choice. We need buckets, man. We haven't got our 4-time MVP. He is option 1A, it looks like.
Can he defend enough to stay in the rotation? Are you kidding me? A guy that can score like that, his offense is his defense. You understand? People are worried about stopping him. And like you're right, last year, what did he have, 24, 25 against Southeast Melbourne? I knew he was a player then. For him to be so young and have that attitude of coming at you, defensively, you're on your heels because whenever he has the ball, he's thinking score, score, score. That's the kind of guy you need. Imagine him working with Cotton, how much better they would be.
See, he's a genetic scorer.
Yep.
But say that last play when he did the little fake handoff and he shot the 3-ball on the buzzer. If that's Bryce coming off that handoff, is Ben Hench going to defer? Does he still have the minerals to go, nah, Bryce, I'm shooting it?
If he's hot, shoot it.
Now, that's the thing. Now, because Bryce casts such a big shadow because he's the best player in the league, will his teammates, are they prepared to possibly upset Bryce? Possibly?
Well, Bryce is the kind of player, though, that wouldn't mind that. If he's hot,
yeah.
Bryce will let him shoot it. Yeah.
Bryce is one of the most unselfish superstars I think we've ever seen, and it's painful sometimes because you see him with 21 at halftime and he ends on 26 because he's happy to share the ball.
That's right. Yeah.
I think he wouldn't matter in the slightest. He just wants to win, man. That's all it's going to come down to playing. But how they slot him back in, I think the longer he stays out, it helps them. As long as he's back within, you need to have at least 6 rounds as this team before finals. But if everyone else can continue to rise, they need health as well. Dylan Windler needs to get healthy. They need to keep Ty Webster healthy. Keanu Pinder still needs to be a main option. But getting the confidence into Pepper and Hench especially is going to help them go a long way.
The Bryce Cotton contract talks, they still haven't eventuated. He still hasn't signed on for next year. If this is the needle of being worried, now if I was a West Australian, it'd probably be a bit here, but I'm disconnected from the States, so it's probably still here. Where do you sit on that scale of, do you think we're getting closer to Cotton leaving? Or do we still think he's locked in, he's going to be here?
I've got no problem with him not having a contract for next season because it's this season. Why does everybody have to always be so far ahead in the future, fix me up for later? Can we just honor a contract? We'll talk at the end of the season.
I'm going to tell you why. Because teams like Melbourne United and those other Sydney that have the money will go in and offer him a bucket full of money And does he stay or does he go with the money?
Very interesting one to watch. We will keep drumming it and see what happens there. The Bullets, a much-needed win, and Tyrell Harrison will start to be his best.
Yeah, again, he was a monster. I thought he was going to go for a 30-rebound game in this. He was just ripping down everything. And you talk about option 1A. He's going to go close. I mean, James Bateman's been terrific, but Tyrell Harrison as a whole, what worries me still about Brisbane is, well, firstly, the only person who was unhappy about last night more than anybody else, and that's Melbourne getting whooped, is Justin Schuller. Justin Schuller's sitting there. I've been on the end of getting whooped under Dean Vickerman. We lost to Perth by 34. Let me tell you one thing. It doesn't happen twice.
Yeah.
So he's coming on Thursday night to go in there. Brisbane have had the friendliest schedule of the NBL so far. Their first doubleheader is next weekend.
Wow.
You look at who they've played so far. A lot of the teams are on the bottom of the ladder. New Zealand just came back from America when they first got them. They've had a very friendly schedule. They come up against an angry Melbourne United. They've still got a lot of tests coming forward, but all they can do is win the games like they did on the weekend.
Well, it's time for me to jump into the trend is your friend. Time to put your money where your mouth is, because this one, well, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty easy one compared to a few of the ones we've had in the past, because I am looking straight down the barrel at the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. Now, the Tasmania Jack Jumpers have been woeful on offence. An exciting team that's done a lot in the past, but this year we look at the averages that they have been putting up. Now, we put this up last week. Lanard, you were there with me.
Yep.
This one's gotten even more dire since. Points scored, 10th. I remind everyone it is a 10-team league, so 10th, that is the bottom. That is the basement. You're living in there in your peanut butter fort is where they are living right now, the Jack Jumpers. And we have a look at the vision. It ain't pretty. Look away. If you're a child, look away right now. We don't want to watch it. The vision is not pretty of the Jack Jumpers on offence. A lot of it stagnant. Hooley, they get to these last-second possessions and it is not nice.
I mean, look at the swarm from Perth. I mean Sydney, and you just have to throw up a contested shot. Milton Doyle, when I was a superstar, had multiple turnovers like this. Their offense, it is so hard to get offensive execution and just wide open looks. And if Jordan Crawford and Milton Doyle aren't doing it, I said Majuk Deng's probably going to have to be their third offensive weapon. Where are the points going to come from? That's the biggest question.
My question is, though, so McVay made the difference. One guy made the difference in their offense. Is that why they...
Well, we spoke about in terms of Jack McVay being on the floor. One, he will score nearly 20 points a game. But two, the defense then takes two more steps towards him. So Milton Doyle, you see how everyone just closed it on Milton Doyle when he turned it over. He gets more space to work with.
It's also the consistency. Right now, Jack McVay was incredibly consistent. So you could have Doyle or Crawford have an off night.
Right.
Now you can't afford that. You can't afford to just have one firing because you don't have enough options around. Jack McVay was the glue, it seems, off court and on court.
Let me talk about the Jackie way now, which we can't really quite put our finger on. But they are very disciplined on the offensive end.
Yes.
The ball moves, everybody touches it, right? Now, I said, once Jack McVay went out, I said they got to tweak this Jackie way. Now, Scott Roth likes it to be this way, but you are struggling to score points. You got to be able to go a little bit of old school Adelaide 36s, run and gun. Run and gun. We need more possessions. We need 100 possessions in this game to make up for our 27% field goal shooting percentage. We can't come down and pass it 6-7 times every single time down the floor. You got to just relax the Jackie way. They're too disciplined. They are too committed to that particular offensive structure, and it's taking too long to get buckets. I don't think it's working.
Well, that's the Jackie way. The Sportsbet way is going to be taking the Jack Jumpers total points under, because right now it seems to be one of the easier bets you're going to see out there, because these systems that jumble all this sort of information up, well, they can't even get into the realm of how bad the Jack Jumpers have been so far. So we're still seeing some pretty friendly lines on the Jack Jumpers total points, the game total points under as well. So it's all there right in front of you. We're going to be back with a whole lot more after the break.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Welcome back to NBL Overtime. It is time to discuss this week's schedule coming out. And I may have said it's round 6 on the top of the program that just passed, but we've skipped another one. It was 7, and now we move into 8. So, fellas, Thursday, Friday, NBL action. Doubleheader on the Thursday. Pete, we'll start with you. Where are your eyes going to be locked in?
Oh, I tell you what, it's hard to look past the Friday because of the way the Phoenix are playing now in Sydney. But I still have to say Brisbane and Melbourne because, as I said, I've been There's not as big a gap between the 30-point loss when you're playing again. It was a fever break for us, but then Dean Vickerman didn't let it happen again. That could get very, very physical.
Lanard, you told us Brisbane Tassie was going to be a great game. We laughed at you. We laughed at you, and it was a blockbuster.
Thank you very much. But look, Sydney got a good win. Southeast Melbourne won 4 out of the last 5. That's going to be a really good game to watch right there.
It's the train wreck, Tasmania Jack Jumpers. I'm just curious. Can they score over 60, 70 points? I can't look away.
Yeah. It's like a car crash, man.
They're coming up against the Perth Wildcats, who are now just having fun and scoring the ball with everybody. So,
tell you what, there's a lot to talk about whether John really, without Cotton, with Cotton, there is a lot to break down with that Perth Wildcats team. But Saturday, Sunday, 2 doubleheaders. You can catch them all on ESPN as well. Where am I looking in this one? I think I'm going Melbourne-Perth because, again, I've been talking about the narrative that I really like coaching with an equal opportunity offense. Pete, where are you looking?
Adelaide Illawarra. They're the only ones that are playing single headers, and it's going to be fun to see how Adelaide bounce back because they got whooped by the New Zealand Breakers, who just handily went about it. Watching that game was interesting too. It wasn't like there was anything that really stood out. New Zealand, I think, just playing at a different level. Do we just write that one off as an asterisk for Adelaide too, or how do they bounce back? Same with the Hawks, who I think they've lost 2 of their last 3, that one win being against the Phoenix. How do they respond?
We'll see, but I'm looking at Cairns Taipans as well because Adam Ford, even though he's not getting the wins, I think he's coaching his butt off right now.
Considering the roster that they've got to play with right now with the injuries.
I am here for Alex Higgins-Titcha. I'm here for it. I can't wait.
11 and 11. Fantastic. Early MVP power rankings. We spoke about PJC. I think Matt Hurt deserves a little bit more talk in this discussion. And, of course, Southeast need to go on a bit of a run. But I'll ask you, your MVP power ranking right now, who's on top?
Oh, PJC by a long way.
Yeah, PJC, because the team's in first place. He's unstoppable. He's having a good year. Great year.
What's with these rhetorical questions?
Rhetorical? I asked for an answer.
Who'd you have?
PJC.
There we go.
It's time to get into under pressure, though. Who's under the most pressure in the NBL? And there we go. Just a little backyard cooking going on right there. Boiling the billy. You ready for this one?
Let's go.
Stick with me throughout it. Stick with me. The most under pressure. Number 5, Will Magnay.
Whoa.
Oh, he's having an all right year, isn't he? But there's a trend here.
Okay.
There's a trend here. Stick with it. Number 4, Majuk Deng. Who do you think's coming at number 3?
Sword.
Craig Sword.
Okay.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Go number 2. Who's got number 2 for me?
Jordan Crawford?
Jordan Crawford.
Jordan Crawford. I had to check my order there. Yeah. Number 1. Take a wild guess at who could be number 1.
Milton Doyle.
Oh, you're a genius, Lanard. You know, it's right what they say about you. You're a genius.
The whole
entire Tasmania starting 5, because they have been underwhelming, a blight on the broadcast right now. I love to tune into the games right now. I say, Grandma, come down to the basement. I'm watching the NBL. Come and watch the game.
Come down to the
We're watching the Jack Jumpers. She gets sick of it. She walked off.
I think Roth can turn it around, though. I'm honestly going to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. I
think
think they will do it this weekend.
Yeah.
Grandma, if you're watching, Scott Roth, he's one of the best coaches in the NBL.
He don't need to be in the basement. He don't deserve the basement. Just kick him out.
Stop charging me rent. I'm your own grandson. Anyway, thank you for tuning into NBL Overtime. # NBL Overtime on Twitter. Thank you very much.